Oh,
Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time.
yep.
All right.
This
So
this
it
is this is
literally
in this is
speaks
in
about
this is
people
in the
that dwell
beginning
in
of
heaven.
Iron Maiden's story too. Just so you
Yeah.
know, like
Well,
And it's
can I
very,
say?
very clear.
Can,
It says, people who live in heaven and you who dwell there. So people living in space should rejoice because they've been able to defeat this devil or this
hmm
serpent. Like literally, they call it an old serpent and a devil and Satan. So they all those things are associated with the dragon, right? So
hmm
they beat the dragon in space and threw it down to the earth, and basically what they don't say but kind of allude to is like now the dragon is trapped here on earth, right? Because otherwise it would just leave again into space, but
oh yeah.
space is rejoicing because now the dragon is karmically trapped here, just
Well,
like
let me
we are.
tell you. Let me tell you. So the Big E, the Emperor of Mankind, he fought the Void Dragon and threw him right in the middle of Mars. Yeah, no, no. This story is everywhere. And that's my point. So let me go ahead and just give you like a more Occam's razor sort of standpoint. So I'm not gonna say weird stuff. Ooh, wow! Somebody's moving really hard. It's killing my ears.
probably probably.
Okay. Um. So I know there's weird stuff out there, and the truth is stranger than fiction. But you got to think we've had so many iterations of man on this planet. There's always the speculation of higher technology within our ancient ancestors, you know, dating back even before the pyramids, right? So, but we also have, you know, at any point in time, strange technologies could have been found. Okay. Um, and these technologies could have been used to trick us or to mind control us. Okay. So that's why you have these priesthoods that would worship objects. And now I would say 99% of the time these objects are just a representation of what they used to really have. But you know, like the stories of the Ark of the Covenant. Okay, that thing killed people. That thing was nuclear. Okay, and all this technology had religion revolving around it, and but the best way to control a population is through a lie, imagery, illusion. So making everybody has a boogeyman in their culture, um, and these boogeymen men were created to control society. Just like the mean old big brother that pops out of your closet wearing a demon mask. Okay, Uh, he's got your number. He's bigger than you, and he likes to scare the crap out of you. Takes your lunch money and throws food at you at the table. Okay,
hmm
so this is the kind of people you have in your governments and in your churches. Okay, so they may have some top secret stuff. With my knowledge of um, remote neural monitoring that the NSA does, you know, projecting movies into somebody's mind is rudimentary. Okay, it's so easy for them. They cast voices. They do visual audio hallucinations. Even Otto spoke on the early experiments with the microwave radiation. They gave the guy some a guy some LSD. The CIA gave some
hmm
guy some LSD and stuck his head in the microwave, and he thought he was being abducted by aliens. So I think you know there's definitely symbology. The I tell people all the time when they talk about the reptilians who control the government, I'm like, you know, you probably shouldn't take that literally, because the people who are in control, yes, they fear and hate us, fear and hate. and they're controlled by their reptilian brain, because we all have three brains, right? The
Mhm.
reptilian brain, the mammalian brain, the neocortex. So it's allegorical. It's just a metaphor. These reptilians who
Yeah,
are
yeah. All right,
in
all
human
right, all
form.
right. We get your point. We get your point. But my argument is 100% it's not a metaphor. Yeah, we use that as a metaphor to inform what we think of now, but it still does not account for all of these ancient stories that goes all over the world and all over the modern
Yes, it
day,
does. This does. I just
explaining like,
explained it. I just explained it. So
no, you
there are these.
didn't. You
There,
came up with
I'll
some
repeat.
theory
Oh, okay.
about government
I will repeat
technology
myself. Hold on.
and
I'll repeat myself. I'll repeat
no,
myself.
no. Here's my
Over
question.
time.
Where did
Over
the Ark of the
time.
Covenant come from? Do you really
Oh,
think they freaking designed that back in ancient times before the pyramids were even built? No, man. They got that technology
you don't know that.
from somewhere.
You don't know
From
that.
somewhere. What
You
do you
don't know
think? They
that.
just found it? You said they find technology. Where do they find it?
They're founded,
It's
or somebody
coming
came up
from
with
a
something.
higher source, a source of advancement. Technology is built upon
Mankind
advancement
has
over
been
time.
on this planet various times over. We've been wiped out various times over. You don't know what the previous iteration had. You weren't there when the pyramids were built.
Well,
If it was wiped out, why did the
So
technology
what
survive then?
really
I
gets
literally, I
me,
just
what really
explained this.
gets me about a lot of this is like when you go back, you have to look at things like Bel. Okay, nobody ever talks about Bel. They talk about Bel and the dragon, but you have to look at what who Bel is. It's like Babylon was actually the freaking second, or I consider it the third kingdom. There was actually Samaria before it was invaded and conquered by the Akkadians. Then you had the Akkadians. And then finally you had freaking Babylon. Now, Bel is like an amalgamation of Enki and Enlil added together to create Bel. And the story of Bel is that Marduk, who was freaking the actual head of the pantheon for the Babylonians, went against Tiamat and defeated Tiamat in battle, okay? And in order for him to do that, he had all of these gods gather together, okay? And they all agreed that if Marduk battled Tiamat and defeated him, that they would give all of their powers over to Marduk. And Bel was the one that brought this offer to them and had them gather together. Now this is all Babylonian story, okay? There's a lot of people who believe that freaking this isn't just related to the Sumerians and the Babylonians. They're actually talking about aliens from outer space who were involved in all of this. Like these were actually alien beings who were doing this back in the day when that was taking place
Well,
during
my
that
point
time
is
period.
like that story is so like comes up so many times over and over again in the ancient past. Even when you read Plato's story of Atlantis, at the end of the story, it says literally like, you know, the gods are up in space and they're deliberating about what they should do about these humans who are getting out of control. And literally, as that story ends, is where history begins. And that's when that big comet hit the planet and wiped out civilization at the end of the last ice age. And so, like, if you tie these stories together, it's happened again in Egypt, where there was an advanced civilization rising in Egypt from the first kingdom. And then it all got wiped out during the first intermediate period, which is, 2100 BC, and literally wiped out entire Egypt. And then what happens? You get the Ogdode, a whole new pantheon of gods that have reptilian heads. Okay, this is what they look like. And this story is echoed through not just Egyptian mythology, but also through Gnostic mythology, where they also
Yes,
have the
that's true.
Ogdode. And Yeah, I just keep seeing
Yeah,
this
the archons.
theme
Yep.
popping up over and over again.
Yeah,
And when you look at these beings, they literally like, you know, draw these things on rocks, and you can see these things. To me, they look like reptilian aliens. I don't know about you, but and on top of that, look at these guys like Tar. He has this like rod that looks like a piece of technology that shouldn't be there, right, in the ancient past, like you
this
said,
doesn't
right?
it? Doesn't it?
And
Yeah.
so for me, like, yeah, you could explain it away as like, oh yeah, we just got really advanced in the past, and like, you know, they got wiped out. But
Well,
looking
I
at
liken
like,
it to like the Wizard of Oz. Okay, the man
just
behind the curtain.
Well,
well, just look at the amount of like UFO sightings that we get today, right? And like these congressional hearings on UAPs, UFOs. Do you really think it's all the government? Like,
I think
don't you
it's
think it's at
yeah,
least possible that like there is a whole universe full of beings out there, just like the Bible says, you know, like,
well,
and we've only just
absolutely,
started to understand
absolutely.
this.
I'm
when
saying
you're
it's
talking
possible,
about
sure.
these these, remember too that you also mentioned the Mishushu,
Yeah.
I believe is what it was. It's the leopard looking freaking no, actually there, yeah, there was a whole bunch of them that was actually in
They
this.
often describe it as like a serpent mixed with a lion. You
Yes.
know, that's the ancient Sumerian way of describing a dragon or something like that.
Well, if you mentioned Gnosticism, so you have Yaldabaoth,
Hmm.
the
Yeah,
demiurge.
Well, you remember the dog, the funny looking
exactly.
leopard that was on the Babylonian wall, right? The walls of Babylon. It's always depicted whenever you go and look at the pictures of the walls of Babylon, where it has the blue freaking walls, and then you have that leopard looking thing that has a weird head, and then it's got the tail that sticks up. That's a different.
Yeah, that's the gate of Ishtar, I think.
Yeah, yeah. That right there falls right into it. I remember you mentioned that, and that really is something that stuck out to me there. Then you started talking about the Apkallu, or
The Apkallu.
you
Yeah.
know,
Come on,
Which
Shinron.
is actually also known as the Seven Sages of Sumeria, right?
yeah,
Um,
Go further east. Shenlong. Okay, you got all kinds of dragon
personal
deities
story.
everywhere.
When I was in
Dagon in
Turkey,
Africa.
yeah. But see, the Apkallu and all these are the like this is the beginning of civilization according to the historical
like
accounts.
12,000 years ago, man.
You know what I mean? This
And
was
like
before
when I
the.
was in Turkey, I actually saw Sumerian tablets that had the translation in English underneath it. And one of them said something like, the great gods came from above and gave us the technology to build cities in the desert. And I'm just like, what the fuck? How is
Well,
this saying this on like this long ago? You know what I mean?
well,
Um,
yeah. Again, but I would think there may have been some sort of divine or extraterrestrial spark of some kind, but we got civilization as soon as we developed the neocortex. What sparked that
Beer,
evolution? I don't know.
no
It
beer, dude,
beer.
beer.
Well, there is evidence of our genetics being manipulated. There is
well,
like
that's what I was getting to actually, because the remote viewing data actually backs that up, and that actually ties into a lot of ancient stories from the past. And so, what they found out is that the pyramids were initially built by these, I don't know how to say it, kind of like wizard looking dudes, right? They could like levitate stones, and like the literally the beginning of the pyramid was this guy putting a staff in the ground, and just like energy bursts in every direction. And then shortly after that, there was like a workforce of cloned humans. They said they looked exactly the same, and they had this like face mask technology stuff on to like help them breathe in the dust and whatnot. but they were basically the ones that did like the initial labor force, and the being that was looking after them was like a mantis like insectoid looking thing, and the insectoid mantis were actually a worker for the reptilians. And
So this
yeah,
a branch or a different version of the Anunnaki
from
story.
what I can gather is like, all right, so they figured out the reptilians, or they call themselves the Draco, are a huge empire that stretches from Andromeda, the next galaxy over, to half of this galaxy. And like they're massive empire, right? And the Earth is kind of like right on the outskirts of this empire, and it's kind of like a nothing planet really in the scheme of things. It used to be for something else, and now when they took it over, they turned it into a soul prison, where the way it works is like normally you'd incarnate here, you'd learn stuff, and you'd ascend and you would leave. But because of this technology they've put around the planet, when you travel out of your body after you die, you actually hit this like electric grid that they've put around the planet, and when you hit it as a soul, it wipes your memory and you reincarnate back on the planet again. So instead of leaving, you just keep reincarnating. I think that's what the Buddhists called samsara, where it's the endless cycle of life and rebirth, right? Death and rebirth. And but yeah, so what these remote viewers found out is it actually is a tangible piece of technology that can be turned on and off, that can be destroyed, but it's being kept in place for a long period of time.
No, see, I posted.
I'm not going to use that as evidence because these remote viewers can be highly manipulated. Just simple microwaves of the brain.
No, I wanna add something. Hey, hold up. I do want to add something that Willie Lee posted up that was actually good for this topic because I knew it was going to come here. And earlier I posted some stuff up on Teams, and he posted something that I thought was pretty interesting that needed to be brought up that pertains to this. And have you guys ever heard of the Horatia book? Or
you mean the blue book?
The Horatia Papers?
Oh yes. Yeah.
The fifth epochal revelation.
Wasn't it?
Now this was a spiritual or philosophical.
Well, supposedly it was like the first book ever, and it has like all the universe's knowledge in it.
Yeah, it originated out of Chicago back in sometime between like 1924 to 1955. Now the text claims to have been composed by celestial beings that introduces the word Horatia as the name of the planet Earth, and it states that its intent is to like present in large concepts and advance truth. Now the book aims to unite religion, science, and philosophy. Okay. Its large amount of contents are on topics of interest to like science, and it has documents that are said to have been received from, like I said, celestial beings. Now, they also have other topics where the book discusses the origin and the meaning of life and mankind's place in the universe, the history of the planet and their relationships between God, people, and also they mention the life of Jesus. So it's really interesting that this book doesn't get very much notice when it comes to this conversation, and I've been always hinting on this whole idea of a group that's trying to create a one world religion, and this is something that really sticks out to me, where I personally believe that there's actually people who are trying to create a one world religion where everybody
of course
believes.
Why not? They want a one world government, they want a one flag, one people, everyone turns into a grey goo with one religion. But from what I've seen them talking to the aliens, they don't want us to worship them. They don't want us to have a religion per se. They want us to stand up for ourselves and like understand how the universe works. And but I do think the Gnostics actually got pretty close in the sense that if you think of the, you know, the Satan type character or the reptilian, I would call it character, as the demiurge, all right, then what I was saying before makes sense, where they use the planet as like a trap, or you know, and that's what the Gnostics said as well. The Gnostics said the material world is a trap for the soul, and you know, we get convinced that all of the stuff that we experience in the physical is so important, when really beyond that there is so much more. And I think that is actually pretty close to the truth.
Mr. Robot, I've got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you said something that was I found to be very interesting in your perception of this. You think the Earth's gravity and possibly the magnetic field is what keeps our souls trapped on the planet? Or does that have anything to do with it?
I don't think it's gravity per se, but I think it's a plasma grid that is outside of our normal perception. And the reason I say that is because I met a guy. He's from the Torres Strait Islands. He's a native island boy, and he had a death experience once where he basically, his heart stopped, he died, and they revived him on the operating table. And he said, he was telling me the story, and this is before I mentioned any of this to him. He told me the story where his soul or his spirit was floating out of his body up above the planet. And he said when he could see the entire planet below him, he looked up and there was just a grid going all the way around the planet. And I'm like, that's when all this clicked to me. I'm like, holy fucking shit, that's real. Because like
Prison Planet.
Like, yeah, man. And so, and it also explains why like some people can have past life regression, or like remember their past lives, and most people can't. You know, I think there is a way to actually avoid the traps. They call them the death traps, and actually get past this grid. And in fact, I have figured out where some of the facilities are that's run by these ETs. One of them is underground in Mongolia. One of them is like in Africa. And they basically maintain the grid. Okay. One of them is off planet as well. But these guys, see, with remote viewing, once you know what you're looking for, you can go and look at it. So they've basically investigated how this death trap system works, and it's pretty damn interesting. Like watching it, there's these souls are almost like batteries as well. Like it's got sort of like a Matrix vibe to it. So,
that's Gnosticism. Yeah. Well, that's Sethian Gnosticism, yes.
But anyway, what I want to know is, I want to get enough people woken up to this so we can go and fucking destroy these facilities. You know, it can't be that hard. You know, a few bunker busters, Bob's your uncle, and we could like set people free here. You know.
Well, these continuous and government sites are not just these dormant bunkers. I believe they're actively being used.
Yeah, and there's quite a lot of like. What do you call it? Working together, interaction between human secret military and alien military underground. They did show like in the bottom levels of Area 51, there was like levels where there was just reptilians working on like genetic experiments and stuff. But a lot of the levels above that, the people had no idea they were even there. So,
right.
Yeah.
But isn't that true about like the entire thing of everything? There's so many levels and nobody's aware of each other.
Yeah. Why would you be, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a whole level just with like crashed alien craft, and they were like reverse engineering them on that level. There was another level
Absolutely.
that was just like biological experiments. Um, it was basically like a skyscraper going down underground.
Basically, yeah. And
Mm.
they're all over the United States, all over.
Mm.
We even have some co-ops with some other countries. We have not just upground. See, the importance of the military bases around the world, it's not just political. It's to deal with the alien situation as well. Yeah, and they know where these things are. That's part of the chemtrail thing. When they have the nanoparticulates lacing the neural cortexes of a breathing creature, they know where it is. Well, Trump is screwing up, isn't he? Come on, this is headlines.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not nothing. That's
Okay.
nothing new.
I feel like retards are going to be doing retarded shit.
Well, they already have AIs doing that. The shooters, as I told you, the NSA has remote neural monitoring, which does also have synthetic telepathy, and they have AIs running this. They don't have people sitting on microphones talking to people through a radio connection. No, this is an AI that talks to people, and it looks like schizophrenia. And so, yes, absolutely. They have AIs doing this. It's not very smart. It's more like a Turing chat box, like Alan Turing chat box. But because it has a narrative, it has to push you to do something. When I was getting it, they wanted it was the government saying, "Oh, we want you to come back and work for us. We want you to come back and work for us." And I was going to do it. Yeah, Colonel Michael Aquino. Yes, yes. Uh huh. It's a psyop. So if you have a synthetic connection, telepathy connection with somebody, you got microwaves, you've got everything, even microwave hearing, radio frequency hearing, called the Frey effect. You can make someone think that they're reading someone else's thoughts. You can make someone have a hallucination to make them think anything. These people can come back with intel that's not correct, but it's what they've been fed, and it's what they're supposed to collaborate. And so so Michael Aquino, also an expert in mind control. Okay, let's put that out there first. So you want to talk about a psychic battalion? These people don't want anybody to be psychic. They don't want anybody using these tricks because there's too many government secrets out there. However, they will fool people into thinking that they're psychics. There are people out there who think they're actually mediums. And I know the
No,
stuff does
no,
exist. It does
no.
exist. But more often, 9 times out of 10, it's not real. It's a
Nah, I
manipulation.
disagree. I disagree.
You can disagree,
Uh,
but this is my
I,
experience.
I think Psychic,
isn't
like
research. This is my
psychic
experience.
ability is just like natural ability. It's the same thing. We just call it psychic because it's rare, right? It's literally another sense,
Well, we
just
call
like
it psychic
sight
because
or
from the mind.
smell or empathy or whatever. It's just a different sense that we have forgotten how to access easily, right? Because we don't use it in our natural daily lives. But it's a natural ability that we all have. Okay. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to do it, right? So I think we're all psychic. Forget about that. We're all psychic. We're just different levels of ability to train it, or like different natural ability with it. But anyone can be trained to be psychic. It's not a special thing. And
Well,
yeah,
a
I agree with
paraplegic
you.
person
Government
can
does want to
a
disrupt it, and
paraplegic
they
person
give
can
us
have
like,
legs, but it doesn't mean they can run.
but they have the ability to run. It's just they
They can't.
haven't tried it.
Right.
Like,
I'm sure a paraplegic person has tried to walk.
here's my point, B. Every baby has legs, right? They all start by
Not all,
crawling, and
but
then
yes.
they can't run yet. But over time, as they learn how to use their legs, they learn how to run.
I'm not going to debate that.
Get really good at
I
it.
am not going to debate that. However, my point is that that ability is being suppressed, and people who think they have it are being fooled.
Like fluoride in water is an example.
Right.
Giving people lots of calcium for breakfast is an example.
Well, see,
Right.
that crosses with me too, though, because like when everybody brings up this fluoride, I was just talking to Mark the other day about this. It's like you can't tell me that freaking fluoride is an issue when you're willing to take DMT to freaking have a spiritual experience. That just doesn't that kind of counteracts the whole thing.
See, you don't understand how the physiology works, Roger. That's
well,
why you
well,
say that.
you're putting a foreign substance. You're putting a foreign.
How they're related.
You're putting a
Okay,
foreign substance into your body in order to freaking get an effect,
Roger,
which
so
is
you
the
can
same,
understand, all right?
which is the same exact thing. Because, like spiritually, a person can do these things without any kind of drug-induced freaking substance within their body. I do believe that it could be done possibly, but you don't have to have those drugs to freaking induce it. And psychedelics. Okay, you're literally abusing your body by putting this shit into your freaking body.
Yeah, I know your opinion, Roger, but do you?
No, that's fact. That's not opinion.
That's
not opinion. That's fact. Okay,
Well,
you are literally introducing an alien substance into your body that is damaging your body. There is nothing natural about doing that.
No, yeah, there is actually.
Depends on who you are.
Willing to listen?
From the mind of a drug addict who freaking uses DMT, that is something.
Let's just go and demonize someone that you don't understand. Good work, Roger.
No, I'm just.
Let me explain the physiology to you. All right, because the reason that we don't all have the ability to spiritually interact with the universe is because we drink fluoride from day one. What that is fluoride has a really strong affinity to calcium, right? And what happens to the pineal gland when you reach puberty? It becomes calcified because the blood in the calcium in your blood no longer has any bone to pack onto, so it packs onto your pineal gland, right? Which is the gland in your body that secretes what? DMT. Okay, and it does that naturally every night when you go to sleep, when you dream. That's partly because of DMT. All right, so to say it's unnatural is wrong.
Now hold up. To get the effects that you're talking about. No, hold up. To get the effects that you're talking about when it comes to having these spiritual experiences, that's not straight up using DMT. That's a mixture of other combination of things that creates the effect you're looking for. DMT doesn't create that vision that you have when you take it. Okay, that is a natural part of the brain, but the effect that you're looking for does not come naturally from having DMT in your body. It's when you put these other things into it.
Got it. So let me get between you two here. So the whole fluoride and the calcified pineal gland is absolutely true. I covered it in one of my documentaries. However, that is you have a connection with the universe through your pineal gland. And I'll just be vague about that. I don't want to give it too many names because it'll get politicized and overspecified, and nobody will agree on anything. So I'll just say that there is a connection that we have with the universe through our pineal gland. It does get calcified. However, the DMT, these people have these spiritual experiences. They do have these hallucinations when they die.
Yeah.
You got people having these experiences when they want to get choked out when they're getting raw dogs from behind. You have these people that have these experiences, just near death experiences. These hallucinations, people disassociate. They can call upon this chemical in their brain, depending on the trauma. It's a trauma chemical.
Mm-hmm.
Help us to get through trauma. So, you guys are both right. You're arguing at each other.
Well, we
let me
do
finish what I was
that
saying.
when we have these
The point I'm
conversations.
trying to make is, like you said, you might be looking for something out of DMT, but DMT is going to give you what you need at the time. It's not, you can't force DMT to do anything. It's going to give you what you need. And so all you can do is strap in and hope for the best. But I see it more like, for someone that's grown up on a planet that's trying to like nullify and stupefy your spiritual senses.
Yes.
It's useful sometimes for someone to get a little bit of a taste of it through, entheogens like DMT, which, mind you, isn't synthetic. It's naturally extracted from trees. And getting a little bit of a sense of what we're capable of, because if you've never experienced it, you can't even come close to grasping what we are capable of as a human naturally. Yeah, I agree with you. It is our natural receptor sites in our brain that actually allows us to experience these things. We have the circuitry for it, but sometimes it helps to get it initiated by a plant in order to just like become aware of it. Because only once you're aware of it can you start to you become a seeker of that truth, and then you're basically an initiate into the mysteries of the universe. And from there you can go and explore and try to like do it naturally. But I still
that's the
still
path
give a
of
lot
the
of
shaman.
credence for
I agree.
that.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I agree. The whole shaman thing. So the government had put a war on us, as you said, Mr. Robot. We're in a world where our senses are being dulled. There's so many people that want us asleep. It's not even funny. I understand the establishment is terrified of us because there's so many of us, and their greatest fear is to lose control. And so they will do anything in the world to try to control us. And so you have the war on the people. See, people talk about the war on drugs. It wasn't a war on drugs. It was a war on the people. Because
the war on consciousness
it was a war on consciousness. That's what I'm saying. So instead of having these enlightened moments, because they found that when the CIA was doing these LSD mind control experiments, they found that instead of getting more control over people, they had more disassociative effects socially. They became free spirits. And so it had the opposite effect of what they wanted, which is why they phased it out.
Interesting how, as the Vietnam War broke out, the counter mechanism to that was the release of LSD into the population, and the hippie era and the freedom era and the free love era breaking out.
Exactly.
And there was an explosion of like creativity and love and stuff like that. And,
exactly.
Now, I also there's something else. Hold up. There's something else that Vietnam that nobody ever brings up, and this is something that's important that goes along with that. Now, Ancient Orange. Okay, everybody's always talking about Monsanto. Okay, and like nobody ever realizes that Monsanto was also involved in the creation of Ancient Orange during that time period.
Okay,
and that actually does fit into it, because a lot of people don't connect that to what's taking place when it comes to abusing our the way we think and the way we feel. Like, Ancient Orange was a pretty horrific thing during Vietnam. Because I know you guys aren't really old enough to understand that. You know what I mean? Because Vietnam was a serious issue to a lot of the older people before my generation.
Okay, but hold on, I wasn't done with my point. Before we
Well,
get
I
too
mean,
far
no,
out,
no, I mean, I know what you're saying, dude, but I'm saying that's
no, no, no,
that's a very important
no.
thing to be bringing up because, like,
Okay, well, let me finish my point first, and then you can tie it on.
but no,
I'll keep telling
it's
you
not
how
tying it
connects.
on. It's like this is actually something that should be going on, but like
Okay, so
leading into this whole thing.
my point being is that you had this war on the conscience on the people, and it's the point being is that shamans, for example, let me finish telling the story. Shamans, like Native American culture, for example, these people were tasked to look over the village. They can live inside the village. They have to live outside the village because they have to have an outer perspective. This is why the you had the herbal medicines and things like that. Okay, but another job of the shaman, who is a biochemical warrior at this point, goes into the tribe, and they will point out the fact that they might have a psychopath or two in their tribe. Now, they would either kill these psychopaths or limit their ability to gain power. This is what kept government and corporate mentality in check. So, it's a war on shamanism. It's a war against the psychics. It's a war against the shamanism. It's a war against everybody who is not a part of the status quo underneath their control.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's all I wanted. I just wanted to finish.
Now, the reason why I was bringing up the whole thing about that was also, see, a lot of this also leads into, like, you guys have heard of the story about the serpent and the rainbow, right? Okay, about
The
Hades.
Serpent and Rainbow.
Yeah, about the freaking zombie drug.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. There's some of that stuff around. Yeah.
All that ties into what we're talking about as well as freaking Monsanto and Agent Orange and things of this nature. The government has been doing research on this stuff, okay, for quite a long time. Now, when it comes to shamanism and DMT, yeah, that's natural, okay. But my whole point is like, the first time me and Mr. Robot had this conversation, freaking, we had a pretty good conversation, and I furthered it by going and doing more research into it. And the additives that they're putting into this homemade lab concoction compared to what the shamans do is very, very volatile. They put things in there like you wouldn't believe. They add things that freaking goes into freaking fuel for freaking rockets and shit. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, wait up.
Yeah.
I've actually got a bit of experience with this.
Yeah, I know you do.
This is simply like a way to extract stuff, and this has also been done since ancient times. I mean, that's how tinctures are made, right?
No, dude, you know what I'm talking about. They put stuff in there that freaking you don't even want. You don't put that shit in your garage, dude.
The thing is, the stuff they use is 100% you can dry it out, right? It is volatile for a reason so that you can boil it off so it disappears into the atmosphere. You don't want it left in there. That's not how it works. You can't smoke that. This is simply so that the modern way to do it.
It's okay because you don't smoke it. Is that what you're saying, dude?
Like acid base extractions using a solvent is like pretty well established science. Like we use it all the time.
They've
a
got
our medicines.
They got regulations for freaking factories saying that this is the way that you handle this stuff, and if you don't handle it, we're gonna close you down because it hurts people. Okay, I've gone through everything on those lists, and there's like two things that are actually safe.
I can tell you what they mostly use. They use for the acid in the base. They use sodium hydroxide for the base, and they use tartaric or citric acid for the acid. You don't want to use an acid like hydrochloric acid that's too strong because it'll break down the DMT. And then because what happens is when it's basic, it can't go into water. It becomes hydrophobic, right? So it floats on top of the water. And then what you can do is you add a solvent, a non-polar solvent, which then soaks it up. And a non-polar solvent can't mix with water, right? So it separates naturally. And then once it's in the solvent, you can actually separate off the solvent and dry it out. And then you're just left with the crystals, okay? You don't actually like leave the solvent in there or anything. You purge it out. And then you're just left with the alkaloids of the plant. They do the same thing for cocaine and other.
I was going to say, this sounds more like meth or something.
It's actually
meth is synthetic. You're talking about cocaine as an
cocaine?
Extract.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a synthetic. Okay.
Right. Okay.
But anyway, when you're talking about Monsanto, what came up for me is like, this is just another part of the assault of humanity that went forward, which after these corporations like Monsanto couldn't make money off the war anymore, they decided to go into agriculture because that just keeps perpetuating it. And like Europe had like basically organic farming until like 10 years ago when Monsanto came in with their lobby groups. And they're like, no, we need Roundup in Europe, so we can spray Roundup on all our grains. Yay. And Europe's like, nah, man, we've been doing this for 1,000 years just like this. We don't want Roundup. And then they tried to bring it in. Europe said no. A few years later, the lobby, they're like, okay, let's just try it for a year. And then like they put Roundup in Europe for a year. A lot of people got sick. They said no again. And then a few years later, Roundup got put back in, and now they've got Roundup. So
now
that's Monsanto for you.
Now that we've said our piece, I want to hear Mark Edworthy when it comes to this whole stuff about Europe and Monsanto. What do you think, Mark? Because you've been.
I'm trying to remember as all of. I think it's technically banned in the EU, but it's allowed in the UK. And it's allowed in Netherlands, Norway, I think.
Now that's something that I wanted to point out because like that is an issue that needs to be talked about. A lot of people don't understand when you talk about attacking us, you're talking about attacking us in our food sources too. I mean, you can talk about the fluorides all you want, dude, but they're even doing it in our foods. They're doing it, especially in the dairy products that they're selling in the grocery stores. Like, when you go in there and you see freaking all that freaking stuff in the milk section. Okay.
Well, yeah, fluoride affects everything. The bread, because any food that requires water, that's all food, is going to be affected. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, the UK and the EU have stronger health food regulations, and a lot of what you eat would be illegal in UK.
Oh, let's not be taking pot shots at the United States anymore, Mark Edworthy. Mr. England has the best bread in the world.
Eventually. That's
okay. We have guns.
Oh,
okay.
That doesn't impress Mr. Edworthy.
Guns, boys.
Now, are you? Nah, and the reason why I had to bring that up and get it serious about that was because Mr. Robot's the one who's the Mr. DMT pro when it comes to a lot of the stuff. He loves to do research on that stuff, and
I'd like to try it one day.
Well, the thing of it is he likes to pussyfoot around with stuff, so I have to like bust his balls so he'll actually freaking say stuff that's important. Because a lot of the stuff that does go into that stuff is very, very volatile, and I've been waiting to kind of like bring that up so we could discuss it. Because the last time we were talking about how the brain's affected by freaking using these things inside of our brain, like the serotonin and the dopamine and stuff. It's actually was a really, really good episode that we did. But then later on, I wanted to do more research into the actual chemicals that they use to mix into it, and I found out a lot of stuff that's pretty disturbing. If I had to suggest to anybody using DMT, I would go the natural route, the way that the shamans do it, because, like Mr. Robot said, it's in everything. You can find DMT in trees. You can find it anywhere. You know what I mean?
It's the chemical of life.
Right. So
Yeah.
I
There you go.
and he actually did a pretty good job tonight, but I do have to say if it was me, I would recommend staying away from that whole laboratory setup, because I've heard people doing some crazy shit. They're using freaking strychnine to freaking cut this shit, dude. You know what I mean? They're using some really, really crazy stuff. So,
Wait, in the processing or the actual?
yeah,
It's as cut.
in the actual manufacturing of it.
Okay.
Okay, like they don't just you have DMT, like Mr. Robot said, that's naturally produced within your brain, but it doesn't give
Right.
you the frickin' the effect you're looking for, because when you're doing the DMT, you're wanting to frickin' see these entities that are supposed to be frickin' like universal. When you go into an experience supposedly where frickin' you're in a reality where everything is makes sense. You understand the universe, basically. You know what I mean?
Well, actually, that's a point that I would like to know what Mr. Robot thinks about, like those entities, the machine elves,
Mm-hmm.
the Joker, there's these all kinds of these entities that seem to be, I don't want to say universal, but commonly experienced, or described as such in these individual experiences.
I call them consciousness. Like different forms of consciousness. He calls them entities, though.
Mm.
So what?
Oh, so you think it's our consciousness fractured, right?
Well,
Or
that's the way the consciousness is set up. Okay, a lot of people
yeah.
don't realize that. Like we don't have like a memory bank in our brains. Okay, it's all freaking fractured. Um, fractured parts of our freaking memory, basically, and the brain has to pull different fragments from different parts of our brain to create a memory. All right,
Hmm.
and it pulls from different areas of the brain in order to do that. So from the beginning, what you call a memory is actually fractured bits and pieces that are assembled together by the brain.
Well, yeah. The
Okay,
memory isn't localized to one area. It's
right,
just stretched over the brain like a network.
exactly. So
It's like a hard drive, magnetic field,
mhm.
just bits and pieces of coded information trapped on a spinning disk. In this case, it's our brain.
Well, even there though, like you have to ask yourself, because there's a lot of people who've gotten into this, and this is where freaking the whole goats thing comes into play. Like, do you believe that the brain is like, do you think consciousness is localized within the brain, or do you think that it's that our brain is a like a freaking receiver and a transmitter that receives consciousness and then transmits it back out?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? That's another thing that a lot of people have been discussing, and they
Well, I think about that question though. Is my brain giving you consciousness? Is my brain giving
is
Donald
consciousness
Trump consciousness?
is
Uh,
consciousness something that literally floats in the cosmos, and you just tap into consciousness?
can we stop some people from tapping into the consciousness, like Trump, maybe?
The Akashic records is, for example, a lot of people talk about the Akashic records, and that's actually a freaking not even from Egypt. Like everybody talks about Egypt and the Akashic records being hidden underneath the pyramids. That actually comes from freaking the Orient. You know what I mean? That's actually a Buddhist Hindu kind of belief system right there. That has absolutely nothing to do with freaking Egypt whatsoever.
Uh-huh.
But
Well, I keep trying to steer this over to Trump. When are we gonna talk about Trump?
I just want to say one thing about the consciousness question. I like to describe it like when you think of a computer, you ask like, where is the thinking happening? Is it happening on the computer or is it tapping into something else that's doing the thinking? And the answer is both, because you have the CPU on the computer that does the localized processing, and you also have the computer tapping into the cloud that have like much larger servers that are doing other thinking. Okay. So that's kind of how I see it. It's like it's both. You know?
Now, what about you, Mark? What do you think about all that craziness? Is it poppycock? He fell asleep.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, crazy.
It's crazy. I figured you would think that way. So now this whole thing about Trump, you guys, you want to get into that?
Sure.
Okay, so V's the one who said he wanted to talk about all this crazy stuff that Trump did. So let's open it up with V's take on this stuff. What did you have to say that from last night, V, about Donald Trump and what's going on? Now he's falling asleep too. You're on mute, by the way.
I think he's just stepped away, maybe.
Yeah, he's wondering what's going on. Yeah, he probably did step away. So, what's your guys' take on a lot of the things that's been going on here lately? We've actually gotten into like a really crazy conversation about Venezuela with Donald Trump, and it actually I was really surprised the other night.
Did you see how he admitted about using the energy weapons?
Oh yeah. The thing that really surprised me about all of this stuff is like he decided he's just going to do it as like an experiment. He's not even going to put boots on the ground, you know. Like I said, I've been kind of split on the whole thing with Venezuela because yeah, I've had my issues with like us doing stuff with Iraq and Iran and all of that stuff. Because mostly that's from freaking way across the freaking the world.
Yeah, that's outside of the Monroe doctrine, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. But like here with Venezuela is something that seriously does need to be. It needs to be freaking addressed, you know. So I'm kind of stuck in between that.
Well,
Me too, because I am not one for intervention.
Democratic elections in the foreseeable future, then all ends well.
Well, I don't see that happening though, because like if they don't put boots on the ground, then freaking nothing's gonna be done. Like Donald Trump only did this as like he figured he'd do his missile attack like he did on Iran and everything would be fine, and he doesn't understand that's not how it works there. Like that's not gonna
work in this situation.
I stepped away for 1 second, and then now we're on Trump.
Yeah.
All right. What was going on?
You just stepped away whenever we were getting ready.
Is anybody affected by ice? No, I'm not just talking about the crappy weather.
Well, ice. No, rain. A lot of rain.
Well, so they got this kid, right? Trump's administration, Trump's goons, his ICE agents, grabbed a small child, 5-year-old child, kidnapped him to try to bait his supposedly illegal father.
Yeah.
The father took off. What kind of crap is going on right now?
I saw a follow-up on that, and it's actually been misreported.
It's being misreported. That's what they're saying. Yes, I know. But I don't believe it.
But you know what they say the real story is, right?
Well, tell us.
Well, I only saw this on InfoWars like last night or whatever, and I did see like it became like a big liberal talking point or whatever. And they said
By the way, first off, where are you watching InfoWars at? On his website?
Rumble.
Rumble? Oh, okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
Rumble's got a 24-hour feed on there, and but anyway. So they said like